The historical evidence further illustrates that the phenomenal spread of Islam in the first century, 100 years after the Hijrah, nearly 65% of the known world, the major element that we can say to this spreading of Islam, it was not war. It was not war. It was what? Business. Let us look at the example of two countries. Let's look at the example of Malaysia. Malaysia is the most populated Muslim country in the world. 98% of everybody in Malaysia is what? Muslim. Malaysia got more Muslims than any other country in the world. Malaysia was not occupied. Malaysia was not invaded or occupied by the Muslims. Malaysia was visited by 150 Muslim merchants. You need to look at the history and find out that those merchants wind up marrying the daughters of the Malaysian king and his people. As a result of that, doing business and marrying their women, this is how Malaysia came about to be the Muslim country it is today. That is through what? Business. Muslim business, Muslim businessmen, Muslim businesswomen, scientists, travelers, scholars, industrialists, humanitarians, sociologists, military strategists, entrepreneurs, intellectuals, and medical professionals were at the very core of the 7 profound civilizations that came about as a result of the Quranic phenomena. A period of 1,000 years which literally changed the entire world. The core of that phenomena was what? Business. These 7 civilizations gave the world the products and the services, the universities and the institutions which were established and flourishing when the whole world of Europe was steeped in backwardness and what they called the Dark Ages. They called it that. The Europeans called it the what? The Dark Ages. While Muslims had 7 flourishing civilizations, the Europeans was living like animals, wearing animal skins, and they was in the Dark Ages. They didn't even know how to take a bath. They didn't have no perfume. They didn't have no soap. They didn't have no lights. They didn't even use water until they met the Muslims. And when they met the Muslims, it came about something called, it was the culmination of Islamic civilization that contributed to the European age of enlightenment, or the age of reason, in the 17th century. So the Europeans really just became civilized in what century? The 17th century. That's only like 5-6 centuries ago. The Muslims already had 7 civilizations. So what happened to us? How do Europeans get on top and we on the bottom? How do they get all the nice roads and all the buildings and all the industry and all the products and all the services and all the powerful governments and all the resources? How do they get that and we wind up on the bottom broken down? How did it happen? We're not going to talk about that right now. You have to think about that. Turning to the African continent, we can mention just 2 people. No need to discuss anybody else. Just 2 people who transformed the area which is now regarded as ECOWAS. You know ECOWAS? What does that mean? The Economic Federation of the West African. Okay, thank you. So that's a huge area, right? That's a huge area. There was one Muslim. He had more money himself than all the West African countries got today. One man. What was his name? Mansour Musa. The Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia, all of them said Mansour Musa was the most wealthiest man in the history of the world. There's nobody that at his time he had more than $400 billion of gold. $400 billion of gold in the 14th century would mean at least $2 trillion today. One man, what was his name? Mansa Musa. When Mansa Musa made Hajj, it took him 1 year to make Hajj because he had with him over 350 animals, carrying each one of them 2,000 pounds of gold. And he said that when he went to Egypt, just Egypt, the money he gave away, it changed the whole economy of Egypt. That's just on his way to Hajj. In the 14th century, the Emperor Mansa Musa, the ruler of the Mali Empire, was considered the wealthiest man of all time. His wealth was estimated to be more than $400 billion. I ain't say 400 billion naira. That's a big difference.
A technically faulty events coverage is no value for money. A crispy, clear, high-definition production, live stream, or online conference is our business. iMedia Communications, the final frontier for video production services.
The second person that I want to mention is Shehu Usman Danfodio, one of my heroes. You know, maybe those of you who were born in Nigeria, you lost sight of one of the greatest African heroes in the history of the world. I don't think that Africa even produced, other than Mansa Musa, somebody that had more influence than Shehu Usman Danfodio. Let's just talk a little bit about him. I wrote a white paper on him that I share with my children, that I share with other people, to let them understand that when I say I'm an African American Muslim, I put it on the plate and let them know what that really means. I ain't talking about the Africa you see today. I'm talking about Africa and what it had. I'm talking about Africa and what it is, the continent. I'm talking about the resources that came out of it. And I'm talking about just two people that it produced. Shehu Usman Danfodio, the scholar and the reformer, who established the independent, now this wasn't no Qaeda movement. This wasn't no Taliban movement. This wasn't no Boko Haram movement. The scholar and the reformer who established the independent Sokoto Khilafah in the 19th century. Now just for you to understand what the Sokoto Empire was. At that time, the Sokoto Empire was 70% of what is today Nigeria, and parts of some of the landlocked countries that close to Nigeria. This was the Sokoto regime. An area that was almost equal to the size of the United States of America, or close to 6 million square miles. Can you imagine that? 200 years ago, a man, a scholar, a reformer, controlling and administrating the wealth, the human and natural resources of a country 6 million square miles. And he was exacting the zakat from everyone and the jizya from everyone. And regardless of what people want to say, Nigeria has never had an individual like that since that time. Not of that caliber. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give long life, and may He bless the efforts of your president. I relate all of this historical evidence, brothers and sisters, to demonstrate how intrinsic and necessary business and commerce is to Islam and the world. So now I want to ask a few questions. Why is it that we cannot find a book, a lecture, an Islamic curriculum, a popular scholar a teacher or a preacher of Islam in the modern world today who is promoting, articulating, and reminding the Muslims about this historical heritage. Do anybody in this here room here have a book that discusses what we're discussing right now? Anybody here got a book? Did anybody ever hear a khutbah in this masjid or any one of the 250 masjids? Did you ever hear one? Since you grew up here? Since you were born here? Why? I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just asking the question. This void, an ideological deficiency, has directly contributed to the global stagnation and the social inertia. Two things. Global what? And social what? Inertia of the Muslim world, which equals 1.6 billion Muslims, consisting of more than 50 countries in the modern world. Currently, we have no global spokesperson. That means someone who has power, someone that has respect, someone who has dignity to speak on behalf of the Muslims. We got nobody. We have no dominant industry. There's no industry in the world that Muslims dominate. We can't say the oil because Muslims have the oil, but they're not refining the oil and they're not controlling the oil. Do you understand that? Okay. We've got no institutions of distinction and sophistication that other nations want to imitate us. And we are almost completely dependent upon the goods and the services manufactured outside of ourselves. And the best example is, I want somebody, how many people here have a phone or two? How many people got a phone or two? The answer is everybody. So let me ask you, who here got a Muslim phone? I'm talking about a phone manufactured in China or wherever, but it's a Muslim phone. Who got one? Why? We ain't smart enough to make a phone? There is a company in Ogun State called Afri One. They are now manufacturing a phone for Africa. The parts come from China, but at least they are manufacturing a phone for Africa. They just happen to be Christians. You should just know this because I did the research. But you also have somebody here who has a company that we brought to Nigeria, who also has a phone that's been produced in Nigeria, and inshallah, say inshallah, we will be distributing that phone. It's called the Sky Phone. I'm not trying to do no advertisement. I was just trying to let you know that no sense talking about something if we didn't try to do it. Okay? So how will we be able to change this set of tragic and depressing factors? How will we be able to inspire, motivate, and inject confidence into our young people if we have this consumer and financially subordinate and inferior profile? How can we restore our dynamism, reclaim our natural and human resources, and take our place in the competitive global market? It can only be achieved if we revive our sense of business and industry. What's that statement? What's the answer? It can only be achieved if we do what? Revive our sense of business and industry. Dear brothers and sisters, there should be a committee for business development in every Islamic center, and we have to be part of the Chamber of Commerce in our local municipality. So I'm making a suggestion. If you do not have a business and commerce committee here, you should make one. So all the business people and whoever want to do business, whoever want to learn business or facilitate business, you come to the business committee in every Islamic center. Thirdly, every Muslim businessman, including those that belong to that committee, should also belong to the what? To the Chamber of Commerce, because they have one in every city in the world. Our students must learn the religious sciences side by side with academic and occupational trades. We must encourage all of our university graduates to complete a business plan before they graduate so that they will never be unemployed. Because there's a statistic I want to give you. 63% of all the university graduates in Nigeria, they remain unemployed for 2 or 3 years before they get a job. We have to mentor our youth to buy and sell commodities, goods and merchandise, so that we circulate our capital among ourselves before it is released to others. Muslims should have, like in a masjid like this here, in every direction around the mosque, there should be some shops that is rented out as a part of the waqf of the masjid, so that Muslims can get their shoes, their clothes, their medicine, their pharmacy, their electronic utensils, their vital needs right here before they go anywhere else. And if that was the case in every masjid, the imam of the masjid, the khatib of the masjid, the president of the masjid, all of them would also be doing what? Business. It would change our dynamics. We have to do seminars and conferences with business and finance as the theme, so we produce a balanced and empowered human being and not socially subordinate people of knowledge. We must talk about business. We have to do business, create small retail shops around the mosque and the Islamic centers. Before we leave each other every day, we have to remind each other about the importance of business by sharing our business card or introducing our product, our service, or our profession to each other. In closing, if we take these small steps and listen to this mukhtasar, we will gradually address the deficiency and the void that we are witnessing in the Muslim world. And gradually, we will see a change in ourselves, our families, and our communities, and our society. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He does not change the condition of people until they do what? Change the condition which is inside of themselves. Their thinking, you see, their thinking and their feelings. This, in my opinion, dear brothers and sisters, is why business entrepreneurship is so vitally important, and Allah knows best. And that is the end of my presentation. And I hope that I did it on time before the iqamah, before the adhan. Did it? We still have 6 minutes. So you see, brothers and sisters, I researched this topic. I wrote this topic today. I wrote this today. And I delivered it to myself in the mirror to make sure that it could be delivered within the Maghrib and the Isha. And so that it would be a reference. And so, if anybody here would like to get a copy of this, a transcript of this, you can. But guess what? It's not free. Because it's what? Business. And if you want a copy of this lecture after it's edited, guess what? It's not free. Because it's what? Business. If Allah can call us to do business, we can also do business with each other. So Allah says, هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى تِجَارَةٍ تُنْجِيكُمْ مِنْ عَذَابٍ عَلِيمٍ تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَتُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ. So you know this ayah. So brothers, we want to put the business on the table of everything that we do. Because if you don't talk about business yourself, when you get home, if you got babies crying, and you got wives, 1 or 2, they're going to remind you that they need some what? Money. And if you're not taking care of business, probably you're going to lose what you got. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this masjid. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the patron of the masjid, the Majlis al-Shura, the founders. We ask Allah to bless the administration. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the people of knowledge who are responsible for disseminating the knowledge to the people. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all the men who are the qawwamuna ala nisa. We ask Allah to bless the women who take care of our houses and they keep our secrets and take care of our children. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause all of us to be more cognizant about this deen and to be prepared to invest something more in ourselves, so therefore we can invest more into the deen. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. يا الله غفور رحيم برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين.